Hey, everybody, welcome to Two Simple Dudes. My name is John,
And I'm Dale.
and I think Dale's got a really interesting segment for us today. What do you got, Dale?
Well, I want to talk to people out there who they're behind on retirement savings. Um, maybe they hate living in the city. Maybe they hate where they live. I want to talk to you about something called the nomad life. Now, John, I'm going to ask you a question.
Hmm.
How many people did you say you thought lived in RVs and vans in America?
I'm going to say maybe 50,000, something like that.
Okay.
I
Well,
mean,
and
that seems pretty high to me.
it's 1 million people. And
One, what?
yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, yeah, isn't that crazy? But yeah,
Oh,
one out of 350 people in America, if we've got 350 million people, I don't know what the population is now,
something like that.
but wow.
Okay,
Now,
so, okay. So I got a question for you.
okay.
Where do these nomadic people live?
Well, they live all over because they're on wheels,
Yeah.
but according to the research I've done so far,
Uh-huh.
the best states to live in if you're going to live full time is Florida,
Oh, yeah,
Texas,
yeah.
and Arizona.
I can see
And
that. Yeah, I can see
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's warm environments, that kind of thing, kind of hot, if you
Yeah.
ask me. I mean,
Mm.
you'd have to have an air conditioner and all that. But anyway, if you don't know much about RVs and vans, they've got three classes that you always run into. Class A RVs, which are the big bus-like RVs. Class B RVs, which are vans, but they have a box on the back, and they give you more room than a regular van. And then Class C RVs, I'm sorry, Class C RVs are a van with a box on it. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Class B RVs are a van. So I messed up on that. But if for those who do remote work, it's not just for old
Mm.
people, it's also
Oh
for young
yeah.
people.
Yeah,
For
that's
those who do remote work, and of course, with remote work and the web, you can, internet, Starlink, that kind of thing, you can work anywhere practically. And high home prices, that's
hmm
another thing that people are just they're saying, "Hey, I want to downsize. My kids are gone. Maybe they lost a spouse, but they got too much house, so they want to sell it, but they don't necessarily want to get back into another house that's really maybe overpriced, or they just want to escape the rat race. I want
hmm
to quit my corporate job, want to quit whatever job, and I want to get out there and I just want to decompress and maybe have a better lifestyle, believe it or not. Now, the obvious problems with vans, let's just talk about it's called van life.
hmm
But when I say van life in this podcast, I'm really also saying RV living as well. Um, the hardest part about those being a nomad, John, what would you say is the hardest part?
Hmm. Well, maybe the hardest part, the thing that probably be hanging over your head all the time is where am I going to park?
Exactly. Yes. Where are you going to park, and getting the police
Hmm. Yep.
to not give you tickets for
Yeah.
camping next to the city park when you're not really camping, you just park there, And
hmm
so parking has been a real problem, and it's becoming an even deeper problem for these people. There's people who will get just a plain white cargo van, and they call that stealth parking, where they'll
Oh.
go to Walmart and they'll check with management and they'll say, "Hey, can I park here overnight?" Walmart's traditionally have let that happen. Now, a few people who were trashy and left bad taste in Walmart's mouth, some Walmarts just say, "No, you can't do it." Home Depot. Now, I got to tell you, I kept hearing Home Depot on some of these YouTubes, and so I called Home Depot and
The
I
main
said,
headquarters or just a local branch?
"No, just a local down the street, down
Yeah.
down down where you used to work, actually." And I said, "Hey, Do you ever let people park in your parking lot when they live in RVs and vans? Yeah, we just have to ask the manager, but yeah, we are. Do you need it for tonight? No, I'm not doing it. I was just wondering if you do it.
Wow, well,
Uh,
that's actually a pretty friendly response.
yeah, that is. And Cabela's, the sporting goods place, they often allow it.
Well,
But
they've got a good big parking. They got a big parking lot up by the one near us.
well, and they've also got stations where you can empty
Oh,
your tanks and fill up with
well,
water and stuff like that.
yeah, and see, they might be more inclined than anybody else to allow that because that's kind of what their thing is, or outdoor living and outdoor
Exactly.
stuff. Hmm.
Exactly. Well, and a lot of people, what they'll do, BLM land, Bureau of Land Management, basically it's called boondocking. You go out there on public land and you can stay up to 14 days. And yes, the rangers are counting, actually, believe
Oh.
it or not.
Hmm.
You can get fined if you stay over 14 days. But now, the negative about boondocking is you don't really have any hookups. So you brought all the water you need. You brought you a way to have electricity that's solar panels or generator, whatever. But people go out and boondock,
Well, it's probably
and
kind of like the
they'll.
excuse me for interrupting. It might be kind of like what the Boy Scouts or people used to say, leave no trace.
That's exactly right. When you park, they always tell you, come late, leave early if you're going to just do an overnight thing, and don't park in the same place two
Hmm.
nights in a row. Now, if you're
Oh.
boondocking, that's different. You can stay there for 14 days if you want to. But public land, there's tons of it, especially in the West, and people might want to give that a look. One of the things I keep running into on this is that the reasons are what I've mentioned, right? I didn't have the money to retire. I wanted to save money. I wanted to get out of the rat race. I'd rather be in nature. I mean, there's all kinds of cool reasons. Um, but the two negatives I keep hearing all the time is that Class A's are a money pit. Class B's can be a money pit. Sometimes these RVs that are pre-made by RV companies, sometimes they have a lot wrong with them. I actually called an RV inspector, which you're always supposed to use, even if you're buying a new RV. And
Hmm.
I kind of interviewed him. I asked him, I just said, now, let's say I'm going out and I'm buying a new RV because, I thought about it actually. Do I hire you? And he said, oh, absolutely. He said, there are always things wrong with RVs, whether they're vans, whether they're the big bus types, there's always something wrong.
Hmm.
Um, so money pit can be a problem, and overnight camping or overnight parking can be a problem. And so if any of you are interested in doing this, here's what I would recommend. That if you roll into a town and it's late at night, you're tired and you don't want to drive anymore, um, you call into the police, the non-emergency number. Don't call 911,
Hmm.
but you call the non-emergency number and you say, "Hi, I'm passing through. I live in my van. I'm going to Philadelphia or wherever." And is there a place that I can park that the police will approve of that will not, I mean, I'm arriving late. I just need to leave early. Um, but that I'll be okay and not get tickets, not get towed, and let them tell you and get their name. Be sure to do
Hmm.
that. That way, if you get a knock on the door at 3 in the morning, you can say, "Well, I talked to Sylvia over at the police station." Some people have even parked at stations because they called in and they said, "Yeah, you could park here," and we wouldn't care. And shift changes, stuff like that. Yeah, that's not really that bad. The noise, I guess, isn't terrible. Where
Yeah.
the noise can get bad is if you park at a truck stop. You got all these semis going in and out. A lot of guys are running their engines overnight while they sleep so they can keep cool or warm. So, anyway, for what that's worth. But from what I'm able to tell, being a nomad can be a big savings in money. A van and a lot of these are used vans. They're not necessarily new ProMasters and Transits and stuff like that. They're not in the 50,000, 60,000 range. Maybe they buy a van for 20 grand and then they build it out. And of course, they do a good inspection on the van and make sure the engine and the hoses and the belts and everything are in good shape. But apparently, if you take care of these, I'll say vans, if
Hmm.
you maintenance these things properly, they can last a long time. And from what I'm able to tell, diesel will last longer than gas.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so. Yeah. Now I
yeah.
do. I want to interrupt you here. Sorry. What in your research, and maybe you're going to get to this, I don't know. What is the biggest expense after the initial investment in the van? What is the biggest expense on a day by day or monthly basis? Do you know?
Well, if you buy the van and if it's not built out, the van is one expense, and then the build out.
Hmm.
Maybe you want insulation in the cargo part of the van. Maybe you want a bed built in. You want walls. You need a kitchen counter. You
Just
need
the
a
stuff to
toilet.
dress, just the stuff to make it livable and dress it up a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. Just take care of the four basic needs a human needs to be able
Hmm.
to live, and you got it.
And then
Um,
what about after that? When you're on the road,
gas.
um, yeah, I guess that's true.
Gas.
Right.
Yeah, gas and maintenance. It depends, of course, on the vehicle. Now, if you buy an RV already made, that could be a Class V van, that could be a Class B van, or that could be a or C, doesn't matter. Um, let's say you've really gone over it well, you've had an inspector, that kind of thing. And the vans or the RV, the vehicle's pretty solid. Well, then what you've got to deal with is just maintenance to keep it solid, number one, and number two, your gas. You're probably going to want solar panels. You don't have to, but solar panels are the thing. And you do want to have locking mechanisms on them when you put them on the roof, because some people have had their solar panels stolen.
Oh
Uh,
wow. Hmm.
yeah, so you've got but your electrical system and all that. In fact, I'm glad you brought this up. Um, there is a YouTube site that I'm really going to recommend. I don't know the man's name, but he's one of these people that he builds vans and his company builds vans, and he'll sit there and he'll say, "No, look, it's like going into a mechanic and just having somebody just talk to you. He's not trying to entertain you. He's not trying to be funny. He gets right to the point. And I mean, you can learn a lot from this guy. And he says, look, when you're doing a build out or you're changing things in your RV, he says one thing you want to use is marine products. When we use adhesives, it's the kind we use on boats.
Hmm.
When we use insulation, it's the kind we use on boats. Wiring for the electrical system, it's the kind we use on boats. He says that is the quality. You
Hmm.
don't want your build going up in flames one day because of a electrical fire. Okay, well, we get around that by using marine products. They're more expensive, but they're worth it. The name of this YouTube um, channel, I'm going to spell it. It's THRIVANS. So what is that? Thrive? I don't know. I don't know how to. THRIVANS. If you look this guy up, really impressed with the guy. When it comes to van builds, I don't think I want to listen to anybody else but this guy if I ever decide to do something like this. Now, another name that you really want to look up, and if you folks know what I'm talking about when I talk about the nomad living, Bob Wells. Bob Wells is a nomad from God. He must be doing it 20 or 30 years ago. The guy, he has a big beard. He's really good to listen to, and he can tell you all about van life. He just, he suffered, and he's very honest about it. He suffered very hurtful divorce.
Hmm.
He really went through some, I guess, some hard things. And he decided, you know what, I'm just going to hit the road. And he says it's the best thing I ever did.
Hmm.
So Bob Wells, you definitely want to look him up. Um, the only other negative I see with this van life stuff is that you often have something called a black tank, which holds sewage. You know, because you've got a toilet. I'll talk more about toilets here in a second, but you've got gray tanks which hold your shower water, your dish water that goes down the drain, and then you've got your drinking water tank. And now the thing about the black and the gray tanks is that you got to empty them, because they fill up.
Hmm.
And even vans will have these installed underneath them, and they even have heaters in the winter to warm them up so they don't freeze over and
Oh,
cause
wow.
damage.
Hmm.
But for toilets, people say, well, isn't it inconvenient going to the toilet in an RV? Well, they've got something called compost toilets, and I'm not going to say they're like staying at the Hilton. They're not, but compost toilets, you go in the toilet, you bag it, and you just throw it in any trash can. It doesn't get on people because you've sealed it, and wastewater, urine. You can. I'm told that a lot of nomads will just find a remote area somewhere and just dump it in the ground, or they'll find a tank, one of these tank islands over at Cabela's, for example, and hookups, and they'll be able to have a sewer there, and they'll just pour it down the sewer. But apparently, it's not as big of a problem as you might think. Now, for those who are saying a van, you want me to live in a van? I mean, especially if you're one person, believe it or not, they are not as bad as you think, according to YouTube. A lot of people have taken these vans and through some very ingenious uh, methodologies, they've been able to create kind of a paradise. You wouldn't believe how some of these vans are decked out to where they got you covered, and it's not like living in a cluttered closet.
I got a
It's
question
uh,
for
it's
you.
actually quite roomy.
Sorry
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
sorry for interrupting. Um, Okay, so my question is, you could start off with a basic van, or you could start off with maybe what you can afford to begin with, right? And then just kind of upgrade as you go, right? Oh,
Well,
yeah.
yes.
Now, start off with what you can afford, and it's got to be something realistic that'll meet your needs. But with this, you could upgrade as you go, I guess. It wouldn't be that big of a deal necessarily. And once you travel in it, you might say, "Hey, I could do some of that work myself," or "No, I need to have the electrician and come and do that." So you can upgrade these things, right? I mean, it's no big
Oh,
deal.
absolutely. As a matter of fact, a lot of people, what they'll do, they'll rent a van or they'll rent an RV, like Cruise America. You can rent
Mm,
RVs from them,
yeah.
and you can try it out, see how you like it. And yes, you will fumble if you've not done this before, and you'll make mistakes and everything. But overall, you'll be able to answer to yourself, could I do this? If you can do it for 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks on a vacation or something like that,
Hmm.
wonderful, fantastic. And then you would know whether or not this is the life for me. Now, a lot of people will buy a basic setup, like a van, or even a truck with a trunk camper. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And they'll spruce those things up pretty good to where they take care of what you need. You can eat, you can go to the bathroom, you can sleep, that kind of thing. But they'll often upgrade. I mean, Bob Wells, for example, I think, don't quote me on this, I could be wrong. I think he started off with a van, and then he bought an ambulance
Oh,
because
an
they're very
ambulance.
an ambulance. They're very well built, and I don't know what pricing he paid and stuff like that. And then he's had several. I don't think he's lived in a car, but ladies and gentlemen, you would not believe how many people who don't have to live in a car can and do live in a car. Now, I wouldn't want to live in a car. Now, I'd draw the line there. I'd say, no, wait a minute. There's no way.
Yeah.
Van, that's a tough swallow in my mind. You'd have to plan the thing out just right to be effective for you. Two people, often you'll see retired couples in these vans, and then that's the Class B, as in Bravo, RV. Um, some of these vans, if you bought them new as RVs, I don't, you might get it for 80,000 all the way up 200,000. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've got some of these that are decked out. And that's why a lot of people just, hey, they buy a van, a basic van, they deck it out the way they want it, being mindful of weight limits and you name it. And then they hit the road and they try to see America. And at the same time, what are they doing during the week? They're parking somewhere, they're getting on the internet, they're pulling out their laptop and they're working. And if your internet is good quality in the van, Starlink is the name I keep running into. There's other companies. You can work full time from a van, and then at night, I don't know, go out and see wilderness or whatever, and on weekends. But anyway, John, what questions do you have? We're about to wrap up on this.
Yeah, well, I think it sounds like an intriguing lifestyle and something that would be, interesting for a lot of people. I'm not sure that it would work for me just because I'm well, it could. I mean, actually it could work. I think being a nomad would be kind of interesting as long as I've got my internet connection.
John, ladies and gentlemen, John's the kind of guy who will jump in his car and just go,
Yep. Yeah, I'll just go and
and he'll just drive.
I'll just drive and I can just drive. I can pick up in the morning and say, honey, I'm going, or maybe I won't tell her, but I'm just going to go somewhere. And, but as far as camping goes, I like my favorite campsite is the Hotel Marriott. But, these vans, they can trick them out pretty good. And I think it would actually work well. It'd be interesting.
Well, and I do want to put in a plug for the tiny house. For those of you
Oh,
who
yeah.
go, oh, I could never live in a van or an RV. Well, they do have these tiny houses, and one of them is a company called Boxable. It's down in Las Vegas, and it's where you buy a house, and they bring it out to you on a semi,
Hmm.
and then they take a crane, they offload it, they they unfold it, and it turns into roughly, I'm going to say, a 300 to 400 square foot house,
Hmm.
and they're modular, so you could buy two of them, and I maybe they're about what, $50,000 a piece, and so you have to have the land,
Yep.
and if you're out far enough, you've got to have a septic tank and a well. You've got to check with the local authorities to see what the property is zoned for. But these houses, they're cheap alternatives to the stick house, they call them,
Hmm.
where it's just the traditional house where some contractors built this thing up. Houses today, I think I bought my house, way back when for, I don't know, 150,000, something like that. Now it's worth,
A lot
I don't
more.
know, upwards to 500,000 or something like that, if you believe what some estimates give you. So it's one of those things where if you're really desperate, yes, a van would work even temporarily until you got back on your feet.
Hmm.
Um, or a tiny house might be a solution to be your retirement home, your downsizing home. So, guys, that's what I have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed that.
Well, thank you, Dale. I do think that was interesting, and maybe we'll see some of our viewers and listeners on the road someday when we're doing this.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right. My name's John,
And my name's Dale.
and thanks for joining us. Have a good day, everybody.